Welcome back to the Chattable podcast, where we learn real English in real life, enrich vocabulary, and feel proud. And today, we've got an episode that is really all about massive scale.
Oh, absolutely. The scale of the examples we're looking at today is just wild.
Right. I mean, we are talking about pop music superstars, multi-trillion-dollar corporate empires, and, well, lunar bases.
And military AI, don't forget that one.
Exactly. Heavily armed military AI. And on the surface, those things have absolutely nothing in common.
Nothing at all. But if you look at the sources for today's episode, they're all connected by the exact same vocabulary.
Yeah, and our mission today is to master two really powerful English phrases by seeing how they apply to these high-stakes, real-world situations.
Because it's a fascinating linguistic phenomenon, really.
How so?
Well, when humanity pushes into uncharted territory, like the outer reaches of the solar system or, the bleeding edge of artificial intelligence, we rarely invent new words.
Oh, right. We just borrow language from our past.
Exactly. We take concepts from live theater or local comedy clubs or even ancient sailing ships.
And we just map them onto these totally unprecedented futures.
Yeah, it's basically how we wrap our heads around immense responsibility.
I love that. And that idea of wrapping our heads around massive scale, that brings us right to our first phrase.
Right, which comes straight out of the live entertainment world.
Yes, the phrase is opening act. And to see this out in the wild, we only need to look at NASA.
The Artemis II mission.
Exactly. So the sources show NASA recently issued a statement about Artemis II. They're sending 4 astronauts on this highly complex trajectory around the moon.
Which is huge on its own.
It's massive. But NASA made it very, very clear that the safe return of these astronauts is just the opening act.
Right.
It's just the opening act in a continued mission to build a permanent moon base and eventually send humans to Mars.
And, framing a lunar mission as an opening act, that is a very deliberate choice by NASA.
How do you mean?
Well, to understand the psychology there, you have to look at the origins of the phrase in live entertainment.
Like music concerts or theater.
Exactly. Think about the structure of a massive concert. There is always the main event, the superstar.
The headliner that the crowd actually paid all that money to see.
Right. But long before that superstar steps foot on the stage, the venue lights go down and a lesser-known artist comes out.
And their job isn't just to, play their songs, right?
No, not at all. Their job is to manage the psychology of the room.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they have to test the acoustics, build the energy, and basically take a cold, impatient crowd and get them warmed up.
Ready for what's coming next.
Exactly. That initial performance is the opening act. It's the catalyst.
So it's not just the first step in a sequence. It implies something much bigger.
Yes. In modern English, when we use this phrase, we are describing a highly anticipated, optimistic beginning.
It's a signal to the world.
Right. It inherently promises that something much larger, and honestly much more important, is on the horizon.
Because the opening act generates the momentum required for the main show to even exist.
Precisely. It tells you that no matter how impressive this current event is, you haven't seen the main attraction yet.
Wow. And we see this used everywhere, right? Like in business launches, political campaigns, the tech sector.
Everywhere. But it still holds immense power in its original context of music, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The sources highlight a perfect real-world example of this with Sabrina Carpenter.
Ah, yes. The Taylor Swift Eras Tour.
Right. So Sabrina Carpenter joined the Eras Tour as the opening act.
Which is not your average opening gig.
No, not at all. I mean, in a normal scenario, opening for a bigger band gets you some exposure.
Sure, maybe a few new fans.
But the Eras Tour was this cultural and economic monolith. It was playing to stadium crowds of 70 or 80,000 people a night.
It was unprecedented.
Yeah. And because of the sheer scale of that tour, being the opening act essentially functioned as a rocket booster. It launched Carpenter into global superstardom before the main show even began.
It really illustrates the sheer power of proximity,
Right.
The main event is that massive. Simply being the one to set the stage elevates your status permanently.
The opening act becomes a massive historic journey in its own right.
Exactly. And that brings us right back to NASA and Artemis II.
Flying 4 astronauts around the moon.
Yeah, and bringing them back safely. I mean, that is a staggering technological achievement.
Oh, for sure. You're navigating deep space, testing next-generation life support systems.
Enduring the extreme heat of atmospheric reentry.
But by calling it an opening act, NASA is carefully managing our expectations.
They're saying, hey, do not view this mission in isolation.
don't just celebrate this and then ask what we're doing next.
Right. They're publicly promising a phase 2, a phase 3, and a phase 4.
Because Artemis II is just the warm-up to test the systems and build momentum for the lunar base.
And the lunar base itself is just setting the stage for the journey to Mars.
It creates this narrative of just continuous, unstoppable progress.
It does. And understanding that inherent optimism is crucial for knowing when to use the phrase.
And I guess when to avoid it.
Exactly. You have to know the boundaries.
So wait, thinking about those boundaries and the inherent optimism, if a beloved local restaurant goes bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
And it permanently closes its doors, and let's say it's the first business on the block to shut down, so maybe it triggers a chain reaction of other closures. I definitely wouldn't call that closure an opening act to an economic downturn. Right?
Oh, absolutely not. No, that would be a complete misuse of the phrase.
I figured.
Yeah, bankruptcy, a final closure, a tragedy. That is the curtain dropping. That is the end of the line.
So no optimism there.
Right. The phrase is strictly reserved for the exciting, forward-looking beginning of a continuous journey.
It requires the promise of a future.
Exactly. When you see a CEO call their new software release an opening act, they're essentially making a verbal contract with you.
A verbal contract that a long-term roadmap is already in motion.
Yes. That there's more to come.
I love that framing. A verbal contract for the future. But, it makes me think.
About what?
Well, if an opening act like a journey to Mars or a massive corporate initiative implies that this high momentum journey is just beginning, it naturally forces you to ask who is actually guiding that journey.
Oh, right. Because momentum without direction is just chaos.
Exactly. Massive operations with billions of dollars and cutting-edge technology, they don't just happen on autopilot.
Right. They require a focal point of control.
Which brings us directly to our second concept. We are moving from the optimism of the concert stage to the unforgiving reality of the open ocean.
Ah, yes. The phrase is at the helm.
At the helm.
And this is really the ultimate English phrase for describing deep responsibility, ultimate control, and high-level executive leadership.
And the origins here are deeply nautical, right? Dating back to, the 1500s?
Yeah, the 1500s.
Yeah.
And to really grasp the weight of it, you have to visualize what the helm actually is on a 16th century sailing ship.
It's the steering mechanism, right?
Exactly. It is the physical tiller, or the massive wooden wheel that controls the ship's rudder.
And we aren't talking about casually paddling a canoe on a quiet lake.
No. We are talking about massive galleons crossing oceans.
Right. The physical reality of standing at the helm of those ships must have been intense.
Beyond intense. I mean, the ocean is exerting thousands of pounds of literal physical force against the rudder of the ship.
Especially during a storm.
Yes. And the person standing at the helm has to physically grip that wheel, feel the violent feedback of the ocean through the wood, and just hold the line.
Wow. They're navigating treacherous reefs, hidden rocks.
Steering the crew through literal hurricanes. They are absorbing the pressure of the entire environment.
So it makes perfect sense that over the centuries we started using this vivid image metaphorically.
Exactly. If you are at the helm, you are the captain.
You are holding the wheel while the storm rages around you.
Right. It denotes ultimate executive authority. You are the leader in charge of an organization, a huge corporation, or an entire country.
It's used for top-tier decision-making.
Yes, specifically where the consequences of failure are severe.
And that element of severe consequences is so key. I was trying to think of an everyday analogy for this one, too.
Okay, let's hear it.
So if me and 3 friends are casually hanging out on the couch trying to decide which movie to watch on Netflix tonight, is whoever holds the remote control at the helm.
Absolutely not. No way.
I didn't think so, but I had to check.
Yeah, the stakes simply aren't there. Making a casual group consensus about a comedy or a thriller doesn't carry the risk of sinking a ship.
Right. Nobody's life is on the line if we pick a bad movie.
Exactly. The phrase is completely inappropriate for low-level daily tasks, entry-level jobs, or, casual decisions.
It requires a recognized position of significant power.
Yes, it demands high stakes.
So let's look at the corporate example from our sources to see that scale in action.
The Apple example.
Right. The text brings up the transition period at Apple in 2011. Following the tragic passing of Steve Jobs, Tim Cook took his place at the helm of Apple.
Which is the perfect modern equivalent of navigating turbulent waters.
Because in 2011, Steve Jobs was basically synonymous with Apple's innovation.
Totally. The entire technology industry, the stock market, millions of consumers, they were all watching with deep skepticism.
They wanted to see if the ship would sink without its original captain.
Exactly. The pressure must have been incomprehensible.
Tim Cook wasn't just managing a company, he was managing a global legacy under a microscope.
Yet, he held the wheel. As the chief executive, he made the final calls on shifting supply chains, launching new products,
Expanding their global footprint.
and the result of him being at the helm was steering Apple to become a multi-trillion-dollar empire.
That is the essence of the phrase, really. Leadership under immense, unforgiving pressure.
Where every micro-adjustment of the wheel has massive ripple effects.
That corporate context is heavy. But here is where the sources take this vocabulary into truly uncharted and honestly kind of terrifying territory.
Yeah, this is where it gets really intense.
Because up until this point in history, whether we are talking about a wooden ship or a modern tech monopoly, the entity standing at the helm has always been a human being.
Right. A human feeling the pressure, making the judgment calls, and bearing the moral responsibility.
But the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence is fundamentally challenging that premise.
It really is. The sources outline one of the most high-stakes debates happening in global geopolitics right now.
The role of AI in the military.
Specifically, the debate over whether artificial intelligence should be put at the helm of decision-making in military operations.
And notice how using that specific phrase completely changes the nature of the conversation.
Oh, entirely. I mean, the military has used automated systems and algorithms for decades.
Right, using AI to analyze satellite imagery or optimize supply routes.
Which is basically just upgrading the ship's radar. It's a tool.
But asking if AI should be at the helm is a fundamentally different question.
It is asking if we should hand over the steering wheel.
Should a machine have ultimate executive authority to authorize a lethal military strike?
And that debate centers entirely on the concept of ultimate authority and moral judgment.
As an impartial look at the sources shows, the majority consensus currently holds that humans must retain the final say.
Humans must remain at the helm.
Right. And the reasoning provided in the text is deeply rooted in the risk of catastrophic, irreversible errors.
Yes. The text mentions the specific fear of a humanitarian disaster.
Because an algorithm, which operates at speeds we can't even comprehend, might mistakenly identify a hospital or a civilian center as a legitimate military target.
And algorithms operate on logic, pattern recognition, probabilities. They do not possess human intuition.
Or ethical restraint.
Or the capacity for mercy. If an AI is merely advising a human commander, the human can look at the data, recognize something is off, and abort the strike.
The human is holding the wheel.
Right. But if the AI is at the helm, the decision to strike is executed autonomously. A miscalculation in the code translates directly into a humanitarian tragedy.
Wow. And this is exactly why mastering this vocabulary is so crucial for understanding the modern world.
Because the phrase, at the helm, isn't just describing a job title.
No, it carries the entire moral weight of the situation.
Exactly. If a news report just asked, should AI be utilized in modern warfare? It sounds like a debate about software upgrades.
Yeah, it sounds clinical.
But when the question is, should AI be at the helm, you instantly feel the danger.
You feel the historical weight of the captain's responsibility, and you understand the sheer terror of handing that responsibility over to a machine.
It perfectly illustrates how we use language to anchor ourselves. We take the visceral, physical reality of a sailor fighting a storm in the 1500s.
And we use it to articulate our deep anxieties about autonomous weapons in the 21st century.
The technology completely transforms, but the human anxiety about control, responsibility, and the consequences of failure, that remains exactly the same.
That is a brilliant way to look at it. And, you know, as we pull back and look at the entire scope of today's episode, it is amazing how much ground we've covered through just two concepts.
It really is.
We started in the bright, optimistic world of live performance to understand the opening act.
Seeing how a phrase meant for warming up a concert crowd perfectly captures the massive momentum of sending astronauts around the moon.
It's the crucial first step that promises a much larger journey has just begun.
And from there, we explored the reality of guiding that momentum, what it means to be at the helm.
Moving from the physical steering wheels of ancient ships to the boardroom pressures of a trillion-dollar company.
To the incredibly heavy ethical debate over putting AI in charge of lethal military force.
It proves that expanding your vocabulary isn't just about memorizing definitions. It's about decoding the subtext of the world around you.
Absolutely. When you understand the historical and emotional weight behind these phrases, you instantly grasp the true scale of what you're reading.
You get the stakes.
You really do. But looking at both of these concepts side by side, it presents a rather profound final thought for us to consider.
Ooh, what's that?
Well, right now, humanity is expanding its reach further than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
If our return to the moon with Artemis II is genuinely just the opening act of our future among the stars,
Setting the stage for Mars and beyond.
right, and at the exact same time down here on Earth, we are actively debating whether human beings or autonomous AI should be at the helm of our most critical decisions.
Oh, wow. I see where you're going with this.
It leads to the ultimate question. By the time the main show actually begins, when humanity is truly establishing a multi-planetary presence, who or what will actually be steering the ship?
Man, that is a staggering thought to end on. A complete collision of our two concepts. Thank you all for joining us on this episode. Keep listening, keep questioning, and as always, keep learning. See you next time.